Well, I think on paper, talent-wise, size, right, quickness, TNT has what it takes to beat Magnolia.
Mm-hmm.
I think the biggest questions right now is, first of all, TNT, particularly the young guys, and I've been saying this for quite some time now, is the biggest challenge for them. And I'm talking about JP Adam, I'm talking about Troy
Mm-hmm.
Rosario, I'm talking about RR Pogoy, because they've been
Yeah.
together for quite some time. Of course, Mike Williams is now into the picture. But
Yes.
those three guys, I think, finally got over that San Miguel hump.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with physical, Diego. That was all mental. You
Mm-hmm.
saw it in game 6
Yeah.
when they were up 3 games to 2.
Yes.
Sometimes there's that glass ceiling, right? That is very, very difficult to break because you know the magnitude. I've always said that there's the fear of failure, and then there's also the fear of being successful. When you're successful, now all of a sudden you're the big man on the hill. And even though TNT hasn't won a championship yet, they defeated San Miguel, which is not an easy task.
For sure.
And I explained this. I was on the game yesterday evening
Yeah.
with Pablo de Rosario and
Yeah.
Jet Manuel, and what I was trying to explain to them is that first run that like Jimmy Harvey, RDO,
Mhm.
uh, Jared Dillinger,
Yeah.
that we went on, we had to go through San Miguel in the semifinals in order to play Alaska in the finals.
Mhm.
TNT historically, up until that point, had never defeated San Miguel Beer.
Mhm.
So it's a psychological thing. Every
Yeah.
generation, it's a psychological thing playing against San Miguel Beer, and also in Never for that matter. And you walk into the arena thinking to yourself, we know we have the pieces, we know we have the talent and the skill set to beat this team. But then in the back of your mind, you're like, can we beat this team? Can we really beat them?
Mhm.
Is it actually possible? All those thoughts, believe me, start going in your mind. And, not to take anything away from San Miguel, but that is the magnitude and that's the type of team you're dealing with, because they don't just have you on a physical level, they have you on an emotional and mental level as well. So that they got over that hump. And that's very, very important now going into the finals. But their chances, now to answer your question, sorry, I just had to
It's
set the
fine.
foundation, all right?
Yeah.
Um, Going into Magnolia, this is a completely different team. And what they
Mhm.
have to remind themselves is that they're not playing San Miguel anymore. They're playing a team
Mhm.
that doesn't mind getting up and down the court. Uh, One of their biggest assets is defense, particularly their
Mhm.
pressure defense, their full court defense. If you saw what Magnolia did to Moralco in that
Mhm.
series, they had a hard time. Moralco had a hard time getting the ball across the court. Now,
Yeah.
again, how many turnovers did they commit in the games that they lost? And
Yeah.
then how many times did Magnolia capitalize off of those turnovers? And then
Mhm.
another thing is the rebound. You're talking about Magnolia as the number one rebounding team in the elimination round and into the playoffs. That front line of Rafi Rivas, Ian Sangalang, Jackson Corpus coming off the bench, who is an energy guy, and then you got to deal with the beast, Calvin Webb. Those are four guys that love to crash the offensive glass or the
Mhm.
defensive glass, whichever you want to call it. But more effectively, more damaging to other teams is the offensive rebounding. So that those two things, can TNT, um, those young guys, can they handle it up here mentally? I think they can. They have to be up for the challenge. The other
Mhm.
challenge is who on that TNT team has the type of energy level that Jackson Corpus and the Beast have, and Rafi
Yeah.
Rivas for that matter. Can they match? Who are the players from that squad? Because if you look at TNT, you got a lot of kind of laid back guys, right?
Mhm.
Personality wise. Okay.
Yeah.
Who are the guys that are going to step up and match energy for energy, strength for strength? I think
Mhm.
those are some of the challenges.
Yeah. You mentioned about the energy that TNT needs to possess in order to find that notch higher of in order to match the notch of Magnolia, because of they even have Gio Halalon and Mark Baroka, who are really
Yeah.
great
Oh yeah.
energy guys for
Yeah.
Magnolia. But then for TNT, what I wanted to ask was, do you think inserting Jason Castro to the starting lineup is something Coach Chot would continue doing, or playing also four small because he started Ryan Reyes in Game 7, or is that was just that like a parang bulaga lang for San Miguel more than a really strategy that he'd continue to do in the finals. Because Magnolia, yeah, you mentioned they're number one in rebounding, so it's kind of tough to do four smalls. And if you put Castro at the first unit, it's gonna lessen the bench production because you could kind of put Yakib at the first five with RR and Mikey.
I think, well, that's a very good question, Diego, because I actually talked to assistant coach Josh Reyes, the son
Yeah.
of Coach Judd, and Josh and I go way back to the Coca-Cola years, right? And I asked him what was it because I didn't get a chance to watch that game.
Oh, okay.
I just saw bits and pieces of it. But talking to Josh, I started to get the whole picture, and he said that it was a matchup designed for that particular game. So what it was Ryan Reyes had been playing very good defense on Arwin Santos every
Yeah.
time he checked him, every time he guarded him,
Mhm.
right? And it worked out in their favor in that last game, Game 7, because Arwin only had 9 points. Like he didn't really get off
Yeah.
in the scoring department like we thought he would. So that was more of a matchup type thing. There was a 4-guard start, right? You had, I believe, RR, Ryan, Jason, Mikey Williams, and then you had Kelly, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if they're going to do something like that. Maybe they will. Who knows? It really depends on the way the series goes going up against Magnolia, for sure.